All right, so we're gonna work with either your name or a word that you like. Keep your word appropriate, please. I'm gonna use the word love. So what we can start with is making some big bubble letters. And I have an easy trick to start bubble letters. I actually will just write it with big regular letters first. Okay, so now we're gonna do something similar with what we did in the Keith Haring project, and we're gonna create a bubble around the letters that we already made. This serves as a guide for us. So these words need to be written lightly because we will erase them. So I'm gonna start making my bubble now. And your bubble around the words can either have curved ends or it can be more blocky if you want and square. Like that. All right, so I'm gonna start erasing inside so you can see what that looks like. Notice here my L overlapped onto the O. That's okay, I picked up my pencil to make it look like the O is going behind the L. So with graffiti, a lot of times letters overlap. All right, I'm gonna keep going with the other letters. Notice I'm making this go behind that O. Everything I do, I draw lightly so I can erase and adjust. Even these bubble letters, I'm gonna add some changes later, so I'm not drawing too hard. This E is gonna go behind the V. Okay, that's a good start. Now we can think about things that will make these letters more interesting. So one thing that I see a lot of times in graffiti are arrows. And arrows give the word energy and direction. So I'm gonna start adding an arrow here at the L. So I'm gonna erase the end. There, now it's an arrow. Now, if that was a little tricky, I'm gonna show you how I do it again up here. Another way I could do it, instead of erasing the end, is just add the triangle. Okay, and now you can erase that part in there. Okay, I think I'm even gonna add an arrow on this O. Now this part's gonna be a little tricky, but stay with me. I'm gonna add, I want this part of the O to come around like an arrow, and there's the arrow pointing that way. So it's kind of overlapping onto itself. So I'm gonna add a triangle here. All right, so now it looks like an arrow. Let's add one to the V. I think this time I'm only gonna add one. That way the whole thing looks like it's one arrow going in direction. I'm not gonna add it to both sides. And on the E, I'm also only gonna do one arrow. You don't have to choose to put your arrows on the same parts of the letters. It could be on any part of this E. It could be on all three parts of the E. It's really up to you. And you also don't have to add arrows. If you want, you could add a different kind of embellishment on your letter. An embellishment means a decoration. So maybe instead at the end of a letter, you might have a heart or a different design or shape, and then erase that part of the letter behind it. That way it looks like the heart is sticking onto the letter, okay? So I'm gonna leave that one there. I think that's cute. Another thing that gives graffiti interesting letters with a lot of movement and energy, because graffiti always looks kind of like it's alive, is to make some parts of the letter thick and some thin. So now that we have our block letters, we can kind of change the shape. So I'm gonna leave this part thick the way it is here, and I'm gonna have it come thin and then thick again. All right, so now I can erase these lines. This is why we draw lightly. There's a lot of erasing going on. Okay, let's see what other parts I can make thick and thin. Maybe I'll make this part of the O a little thinner. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna do that there because I like how it's covering the V, and that's okay. We can change our mind. I think I'm gonna change some parts of the E. We'll make this nice and thin. Okay, that has a lot more personality now. Maybe I'll make this part of the O thinner. Okay, now you don't have to do thick and thin parts, it's just a suggestion. Something else you could do is make layers of letters inside. So I could add another V in here that would be a different color, and I'm just following along the same lines I already have, just going inside about 1/2 centimeter. Okay, that's one other thing you can do with graffiti. Let's see, now I could even add, I could add a bubble with some flair around another shape. Like maybe I'll add a little explosion or starburst shape. Okay, and I could even do that around an entire letter. Maybe this one I'll make wavy. Okay, looking pretty cool so far. We could add designs to our letters, like a pattern. Inside this L, I'm gonna add some diagonal stripes. I think I'm gonna add some more. I'm gonna put some in between. Ooh, cool, okay. Let's see, what else could we add now? Maybe we could have a funky underline that also has an arrow. I'm doing straight lines and wavy lines for this. And now underneath, I follow the same line that I made. And I'm gonna add an arrow here to keep my style the same throughout my graffiti. Very cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna start coloring it in. I'm choosing colors that are analogous on the color wheel, which is something we've talked about when we made our Peter Max artwork, colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. You don't have to do that. The reason I'm choosing to do that is I think when colors are analogous, they go really well together. If you want them to pop out and contrast more, you could use complementary colors. Those are colors that are across from each other on the color wheel. And you can look at the color wheel that's in this lesson to see what I mean. or to see those colors. Another thing I'm gonna do when I color this all in is outline it all in black. So I'll show you that when I'm done.